What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Well, happy Tuesday. Um, I have a really interesting guest today. Pretty cool episode. Before we get into that, I just want to let everybody know that I have a pretty special announcement coming up for Valentine's Day. It's going to be a Valentine's Day little announcement. It was going to be really cool. I may or may not be joined by a pretty prominent figure in our industry, which is going to be really neat. So that's pretty cool. I do also have Texas Medley coming up. I got yesterday I booked a gentleman by the name of Howard Partridge, and Howard is like a rock star. This guy is. So this is actually how this all happened. He's a best-selling author. He's a business coach. The guy, I mean, there's nothing that this guy has not done. He's like he's one of the original like John Maxwell coaches. He has like he coaches like 100 industries in 100 companies in 20 countries. He's a TEDx speaker. I was lucky. So here's I don't know if you believe in God or not, but I do. Let me just tell you how this whole thing happened. It's kind of interesting. So this guy, I was going to interview Ken Goodrich, and I went to the Gaylord in Grapevine here in Texas. It's outside of Dallas. And what happened was we were literally getting into the elevator, and a gentleman rolled up, and he and Ken Goodrich knew each other. And Ken's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Well, I'm going on an interview in this podcast." And then we just connected, and it was just one of those random things. Here I am. He's walking into an elevator, and we got to talking, and he's just a super cool guy. I mean, you guys can look on Amazon. He's got all sorts of business development books and business books and coaching books. And he's the exclusive business coach for the Zig Ziglar Corporation. And he was actually the first Zig Ziglar trainer in the world. And if I go back, so, sales tales, right? If we go back, man, I remember like probably the first sales book I ever like read, listened to, whatever, was Zig Ziglar. And, that company is still operating today. And he was also one of the founding members of the John Maxwell organization, it's amazing. I'm blessed. I'm really excited about it. I had a couple conversations today with a couple of people, and I was actually talking to a guy in regards to this really cool, it's like a review tool for techs and for sales reps in the house to actually geolocate just the people in that general area where they're running the call, so that they can show the customer just people in their area, and then they can pull up just reviews on them. So it's a very human sort of thing. I really like the tool, and I'm going to have him on too. So without further ado, I have Julian Picard. Julian, what's up, man?
What's going on, Everett? How you doing?
Man, Julian actually contacted me through, I think, his sister, right? Is it your sister? And yeah. It was like weird. Like, I don't know. She caught the podcast, and she was like, I think you should talk to this guy. You got a lot of cool stories. Like, it'd be really cool to just, get on and talk. And then Julian, and I talked for I don't know, half an hour. And I was like, bro, I got to have this guy on. He's freaking hilarious. So, Julian, who the heck are you?
All right. Well, I am Julian Picard. I am a dad, a husband, an HVAC company owner, and an ex-Marine engineer. I've done a little of this, little of that, but most importantly, I'm here right now talking to you, man.
Yeah, you happen to be talking to me right now. But what really intrigued me is that you started out. So you started out on ships, but go back. So you went to an HVAC high school, right?
Yes, correct. So I went
you're from Boston, right?
Yeah, or Central Mass, which people from Boston call Western Mass. But I mean, I'm in and out of the city here and there. I'm there enough.
Yeah. How far of a drive are you into the city?
From my shop, it's about 30 minutes. From my house, it's about 40 minutes.
There.
Yeah, I mean, it bleeds everywhere. Just the mass hole is everywhere, so you get the full effect basically.
Mass holes everywhere.
Yeah, you basically got it. So I went to local tech school. I did HVAC there. I picked that shop because I liked that it was a little bit of everything, and it kind of had a cool reputation in the school too. Because we would go on outside jobs, so we would be like the ones actually fixing the equipment at the school. So we'd be going all around all the time. So really like that. Ended up getting really into the thermodynamic principles. So I graduated from there in 2012. And I was either going to work directly in the field because that really intrigued me, or I was going to get into Massachusetts Maritime Academy.
You graduated high school in 2012?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I feel pretty old. God.
When did you graduate?
I didn't graduate even this century, my man. I graduated in the great year of 1998.
No kidding. Did you go to Woodstock?
Yeah, I went to Woodstock back in '69. I was reincarnated.
No, 99. Woodstock 99. There's a whole.
No, that was the one that like lit on fire, right? That was
it was terrible.
Yeah.
There's a whole Netflix documentary on it.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, while we're on this topic, I read a book called Scar Tissue by Anthony Kiedis, which, by the way, if you haven't read this book, whoever listens to this, you have to read this book. It is bonkers. So he tells the story about that Woodstock, and because they said that because it was during they were playing, I think, Fire by Jimi Hendrix or something like that, right? Yeah, and they thought that he incited that, and he said that while he was on stage, he didn't even know what was going on. Like he watched it happen, like as it was happening, and he's like, is this place on fire? Like, is this place on fire right now? And like he's singing, dude, he's singing the song, and in the book, he talks about it because he's like, now whether or not I think he seems pretty sincere because the stories that this guy tells, bro, you want to talk about a fucking fucked up life, bro. Oh my gosh. This guy, oh my goodness. Like the things that this guy did. Anyway, it's a good book, Scar Tissue. I'd recommend it.
So it's about Woodstock 99?
No, it's about his life. That dude, the guy's dad was like a famous drug dealer. Like he worked in the clubs in like LA, and like he had all these famous friends that were like all these famous friends that like dude, he spent part of his childhood in Cher and in Cher's house. Like, so Cher and Sonny Bono, or Sonny Bono, whatever. He spent like a good amount of his childhood like in their house. Like he like lived there like for a little while. Like it was bonkers, bro.
Oh man, weird. I hope they weren't taking his blood or something. They like
no. So I did not go to Woodstock, and you didn't go to Woodstock either because you were just a wee little tot.
I was just a little guy. I was still running around. Not even, or maybe kindergarten by then. I don't know. But I watched a documentary on it. So anytime I meet somebody that's like graduated high school around that range, I'm like, oh man, those were the cool kids that I knew growing up. Because like all my older sisters, like boyfriends and friends and stuff, it's like, oh, they're cool. They're wearing the North Carolina hat backwards. Nice. You know, like that was like the cool thing then. But yeah, anyways, graduated in 2012. Actually got into Mass Maritime Academy. Went there. I had a whole different.
Explain to everybody what Mass Maritime Academy is. I know it sounds like really obvious to most people, but like just explain, like, what is it?
Believe it or not, it's not that obvious. So it's a regimented academy that focuses around the like marine world. So basically, you have your license majors, like you have deck majors. Those are the people that'll be like a first mate or a captain or something like that. On people that drive the ship, they call themselves the managers, but yeah, I don't know about that. And then you have the engine side, which is what I was. So you're down in the engine room. You're basically keeping the whole ecosystem good down there. And then there's a bunch of other majors that go there now too, a lot of unlicensed ones. But it's regimented. You wear the uniforms. You do the whole military thing. It's got a great ROI on that school. I think it's like top 5 or something in Massachusetts. So that's the main reason why I went there. I wasn't just going to go to college to just, blast money away. I wanted to go for a reason. So heard about the marine engineering program, thought that's for me. I want to try that out because there's 3 engineering programs there now, but I was stuck between facilities, which is basically shoreside. So you run the power plants and stuff here, which I got a lot of friends that are in power plants right now. So when we talk about the heat pumps and stuff later, like I see it firsthand. Dan
says, I have a former Navy buddy that went that route. They loved it.
Yeah. I mean, they say it's a great place to be from, not a great place to be, because it's kind of miserable sometimes. Taylor's Point is pretty rough with the wind and everything, but awesome experiences. I met great people there, and it got me a pretty prestigious license when I graduated.
What kind of license did it get you?
So now I bumped it up to a second assistant engineering license through the U.S. Coast Guard. So I can work with unlimited tonnage. So I can basically work on all kinds of big cargo ships and things like that.
Wow.
With steam and diesel are the two major ones that I've been on.
Right.
So got the license. I like that license because you can make a lot of money with it. So I didn't go out to sea right away because I wanted to get on the oil rigs. But at that time, oil really slowed down. So like when I was a freshman at Mass Maritime, the seniors had employers lining up out the door to hire them on oil rigs, starting out at like $125 a year for working half the year. That was like, that was crazy hearing about as a broke freshman there. So anyways, graduate from there. Shipping was slow. I took a job as an operations manager down in Florida for this company. They're actually based out of Western Mass, but they have a major portfolio down in Florida. I was overseeing like 3 different properties. Each one of them was about 300 units. So lot going on there. It ended up being just a crash course on keeping shitty old AC systems running is really what it came down to. So, and I think they liked that about me when I was in my interview because they heard my HVAC background. I'm like, yeah, I think we could use you somewhere. Got my ass kicked out there. So I ended up quitting that job after a year. I drove out of Florida at 100 miles an hour. I was just sick of it, the area that I was in. I mean, I love Florida, but not that area.
Where in Florida were you?
It was Lantana, Florida. So it's like just outside of West Palm Beach. This is what they would do. They'd buy like shitty old Section 8 properties just out of West Palm Beach. And they would like just throw some lipstick on them and then sell it being like, oh, you're right near West Palm Beach. But they sucked. It was brutal. I couldn't stand by the product at the end of the day. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm out of here. So
yo, dude, you know what Lantana just reminded me of? I don't know why. You ever seen Anchorman?
Yes, of course.
It's like that guy, like John Fantana.
Yeah.
Like one of the news anchors. All right.
Yeah. The place seems like it's not even real. It's weird. But anyway, so I moved back up to Massachusetts. I joined the American Maritime Officers Union. Something I never really thought I'd want to do, but I just wanted to make some money. So I started going deep sea sailing. And my first one was in a shipyard for just a week or so, just to get my foot in the door. And then I ended up landing a job on what's called the Mohawk. And it was the worst ship in the Union. Absolutely.
Really? How many ships are in the Union?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I've been out of the loop.
Like, are all the ships that come in, like the ships that are delivering like cargo and whatnot, like are they all in this?
A lot of times. Yeah. So if you're doing business from U.S. port to U.S. port, it has to be a United States flagged ship. That's that Jones Act that everybody talks about and gets pissed off at all the time. And you got senators trying to get rid of it when really all it would do is just sub out the whole U.S. merchant marine to, it's other countries that pay a fraction of what our country does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because I mean, there was times I can remember being in Singapore working in a shipyard with this Japanese guy. And he was so much smarter than me on every metric. He worked for the shipyard, and I think he was making about $75 a day, if that. And like barely anything.
Was he American?
No. Like he was Japanese, and he was working in the shipyard. But most of the people that were working in the shipyard, like most of the general laborers, they'd make like maybe $100 a month, something like that. Like not much at all. Basically, what I'm getting at is like, I was very thankful for the Jones Act at that point because I was actually making a decent wage for being out there because it's brutal work out there. Like you're working all day long. You don't get to sleep sometimes, especially on the Mohawk. There was no sleeping on that ship. That ship sucked. There were so many issues with it, but the union held on to it and they kept it in business because it had these certain cargo holds. So we could take these military cargoes trans-Pacific. Granted, we were literally sinking the whole time. Like if our bilge pumps weren't working right, or not our bilge pumps, our our transfer pumps for ballasting. If those weren't working right, like we would have completely sank, and that would have been it. But
Oh wow, yeah. I mean, I know what a bilge pump is. That's crazy.
yeah.
So you were constantly fixing shit on this boat.
Yeah, it was terrible. I mean, there was a reason why it was the highest paying ship. Like I was all pumped. I'm like, oh, sweet, I'm gonna make so much money out there. I think it was paying third engineers like 600 something bucks a day, which was huge. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah, let's go. Went out there, miserable crew. At least for the first half, it was a miserable crew. Because there's so much turnover on that ship that no one really knows it. It takes you like 3 hitches to really know a ship well. This one, there people, they'd go on once and never touch the ship again. It was almost like, you know, they'd go there and just make a good chunk of money and then just get out, sell their souls for 4 or 5 months.
So is it contract? Like, is it contract work? Like, how does it work?
Yeah. So that's why it worked for me, because I'm the worst employee in the world. And like, this kind of gave me a little bit of that contract wiggle room to where, like, if it wasn't working out on the ship, you could always fly home from a port if you were able to find yourself a relief or something like that. So it's not like you work directly for them unless you got a permanent position, which I ended up getting one of those, but still it's basically contract based work. Like you're going, the hitches that I would go on were anywhere from 90 to 120 days. And we were all over.
Hey, I'm gonna stop you for 1 second, because I talk with my hands too. And every once in a while I hear you hitting the thing right there. And I'm like, oh dude, this guy, that's funny. Sometimes when I listen to like Rogan, let's say, he does the same thing. He's like, hey, would you do me a favor? Like, he gets a guest on,
they're way back here.
Yeah. Like, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you actually put the microphone like within like a fist of your your face?
I got mine right here. I hope it's working.
Yeah, no, it works good. It sounds great. Yeah.
Nice, great. So yeah, I was on that ship.
I mean, if you want to get closer to it, feel free. I don't know. I thought it was attached to your But anyway, yeah. So you do the contract work. You're a terrible employee. You don't want to work for anybody. You're out there. What's the weirdest shit you ever saw on one of these? Oh
my gosh! In the port. So I'll give you one of each. One on the ship and one on the ports. So one time I was out on a ship, and the first engineer that was out there was only with him for a short period of time. He was like right when I got on the ship. This guy was a freaking spaceship. He was very quiet in the engine room. Didn't say much. He would answer questions when I'd ask him, but it wasn't anything ever elaborate. So I was on watch that night, and something was going wrong. I couldn't figure out what it was. So, I called the first. He didn't answer me, because that's what you normally do. You call the first. Like, that's the big joke. Like, don't call me tonight. So had to call him. I forget what the issue was, but it was something. Needed to call him up. Didn't get an answer. So I went up to his room and I knocked on his door. Thought maybe he was sleeping. Still nothing. Looked around the ship. Nothing. They said he's in his room. Knocked on the door again. I open up the door. This dude is ballroom dancing with a blow-up doll. I shit you not. Yeah, like dancing around, like dancing in circles. And
how long was this guy on the water?
Oh, who knows? He was probably on for 4 or 5 months at that point, I would think, because he was just getting off.
But you dock. I mean, did he just not get off the boat? Like, or he just a weird guy?
I mean, I'm sure he was tossing nuts all over the place when he got off, but like, dude, he was just dancing with his.
Is that a Boston term? Tossing nuts.
Tossing nut. I don't know. I think it might be a me term. I don't know. I would pin a city on that. So yeah, this guy, weird. That was probably one of the weirdest things I saw on the ship, because I was like, this guy's my direct superior. Like, I have to do laundry next to this guy, and he's ballroom dancing with a freaking doll.
So what about once you, like, what's the coolest? Tell me about like the coolest place you went, like, while you were traveling.
Oh, man, I would probably say the coolest place I would go to is Singapore, because it's like a shipping hub. So if you need any work done, you're going to go to Singapore, and it's because they bring in that basically slave labor there, and you can get ship work done for a lot cheaper and a lot more efficient too. You do it in the States, it's way more expensive and it takes a lot longer. So that's where all the major overhauls would happen. We'd get off in Singapore, and it's just a blast there. I mean, it's like the safest city ever. But
I thought you get like in trouble for doing anything out of line in Singapore. Like, there was that whole story about that kid who, like, I don't know, he like spit, like chewed bubble gum, or like, and like he put the bubble gum on the street, and they were going to cane him. Do you remember this?
Yeah. They definitely like to cane people. That's definitely their thing. But there's a reason why it's so neat and nice there. They don't put up with any bullcrap. So like,
everybody's afraid.
Exactly. But like, it's funny. One of the other kids that was on the ship at the time, he was right around my age. So we were early 20s, and he actually got so drunk he passed out on the sidewalk, and like he woke up with a blanket on him. Like, nothing was stolen. So much, yeah. So
Somebody
like,
actually put a blanket on this guy on the ground.
oh yeah, full blown put a blanket on him after he fell asleep on the ground. It's like, you got to be kidding. This is the safest place ever. But problem for me, because I like my weed, and they do not like weed there. They are anti-weeders. I mean, they'll kill you for weed. They would. They'd
Wow.
lock you up for life.
Sometimes
Yeah.
I think that's economic. Like sometimes I think there's countries that like don't like it because it's an economic thing, not necessarily because it's a drug, right?
Maybe I feel like a lot of it stems in like the opium wars that they had way back in the day, where they made everybody stupid and addicted to opium. I think that it might root from that too.
So then they're
'Cause,
just like F all drugs. Don't bring that.
yeah, basically, unless it's alcohol. I can't even believe how much the Asians can drink over there.
And Singapore, you can drink in Singapore, no problem. You just can't smoke weed.
Drink anything. Yeah, exactly. Can't smoke.
Do you ever
weed.
have to worry about that kind of stuff on the road? Like if you like, I mean, do you ever have to take like drug tests and all that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah. So I'm probably the best drug test cheater in the world that you've ever met. And it's not so like, I'm not like for doing coke on ships or anything like that. But I mean, I was using CBD and some other tinctures that I make back home to help with my appetite and help me sleep out there a little bit. So technically it's illegal, but you can kind of predict when your drug tests are coming, so you can game it a little bit. So I was getting on the ship in, I think it was Louisiana. We were picking up a bunch of rice that we were going to end up taking over to Thailand or somewhere over there. And so I had a feeling that we were going to get a drug test, because it was the first time the ship was back in the States for a while. Normally that's when it's going to happen. So I signed on. I'm clean as a whistle, ready to pass this drug test. And so we take it. I'm happy as a clam. Great. Here we go. Then they had to call on a new captain, because the captain that was previously on there literally ate so many Viagra pills that he gave himself a heart attack. Like, I can't even make this stuff up. Yeah. If you have too much of that, it'll give you blood clots. So
whoa.
Yeah, this guy was cranking down up there in his master suite. And we had it was a surprise change in captains. So the new captain came on and he refused the drug test. So I knew that he was probably smoking back home. He lived in Maine. So he refused the drug test. He said, no, this is too chaotic. We got to get the ship off the dock. Blah, blah, blah. So my clean piss went to waste. So we sail halfway around the world, and I'm like, I'm going to be flying home from another country, so I don't have to worry about a drug test. Like, that's great. So I was using the stuff that I had with me on the ship, and responsibly, of course. I'm not an idiot. Responsibly doing drugs on the ship. So we're going across. We get over to Singapore, and they're like, oh, that other drug test was canceled, so you guys have to take another drug test. I'm shitting bricks at this point, because I'm in Singapore. I already used my clean piss, and I definitely would not piss clean. There is no way that if I failed that drug test and the company had to send me home, the people at the airport would have picked me up and I would have ended up in a jail. So like, wow. I'm freaking out at this point. I'm like, oh shit. Okay. I got to find some clean piss. I was able to find some clean piss. I ended up pulling it off.
Hold on. You can't glance, like how does one find clean piss?
You got to be a little persuasive, ask people, I do this favor for you, you do this for me,
So,
a little bit of that.
So you just walk into the bathroom, just pour it into the thing, and here you go.
Yeah, it's a little more scientific than that. I had hand warmers and stuff. So, wow. I mean, I wasn't just.
I have stories of guys that have done this kind of stuff too. I knew somebody that actually had it ordered piss in like powder form, and then like powder they go and they have like a vial like in their in their like underwear, and then they like go in the bath. It's like a big whole thing. I don't know. That's.
Oh yeah, it's for such a stupid thing. Like meanwhile, while I'm feeling bad about taking like a little bit of edible to be able to fall asleep and eat the disgusting food that's on the ship, there's literally guys getting so fucking drunk every single night that like you get drunk walking by and breathing their breath.
It's so funny the way that's viewed, because you were probably peaceful, not bothering anybody.
Bothering anybody. No way.
So then, were you working on HVAC stuff on the ship too? Like, was that your primary?
Yeah, reefers was part of it. So no, I did everything. I mean, I did power generation. I did fuel, everything with fuel when I was a second engineer, purification, water. I don't know if I already said water generation, power generation, emergency diesels. I had to know a little bit of everything. And part of that was the reefer system too. So I definitely had a good, a better handle than most people. Now, the most like direct HVAC time that I got was actually on that ship. It was my first hitch on that ship. And we were getting ready to pick up a security guard in Greece because we were going to be going around the west coast of Africa. And I don't know if you know this, but the east and west coast of Africa, the east coast, it's like business transactions with the pirates. They come on your board, the shipping company pays them 30 grand, 20 grand, whatever it is to get them off. Sometimes it's a box of cigarettes. It's not much. And then on the west coast, the Nigerians and all them, they are nasty. They'll come on there, they'll kill guys, they'll throw them over the side. I heard one of them pinching a guy's nuts off once. So we always, brutal. So, and they're stocky, strong bastards over there too. And like, it's not like the East Coast, like the Tom Hanks movie that was there where the guys were all like this thick. And these guys are no joke. They're well fed. And so we pick up the security guard and I'm like, oh, sweet. We're getting a security guard. Cool. Like they want to protect us. Nice. This like little old Greek man comes on the ship. He was basically a lookout. It was literally just a CYA. It turns out that the quality of the security guards that you get is based on your cargo. And since we were just growing grain, they were like, oh, fuck grain. Like, who cares? We're not going to, they gave us a feeble old man. But anyways, I had to retrofit this shipping container to be able to take these guys so that they could stay in it because we didn't have enough room for them in the ship. So,
Michelle Montague says, hi, Julian. I guess you have some friends on here. I don't know who that is. Hi, Michelle.
Hey, she's a badass fighter, man. She's like a legit mixed martial art. Not UFC. So she's really good friends with Kayla Harrison, who is UFC. Wow. I think Michelle will end up in the UFC for sure.
Oh, wow. No, hi, Michelle. No, keep kicking ass.
Oh, yeah. She kicks it for sure. So wait, I forget where I even was there.
So the little Greek guy gets on. You have no protection, basically.
Yeah.
Is this guy armed?
No, I mean he had 2 arms, but nothing more than that. He was he was basically useless. He was another lookout, and I think he was a little blind too. So like he couldn't even do that.
So
nice
you have
guy.
A blind, useless Greek bodyguard. Yep. Gotcha.
Uh-huh. You got it. And okay. So yeah, they really don't. It was a realization moment for me because I'm like, oh man, the company doesn't give a shit about us. They give a shit about the cargo. Because like, I mean, if we were carrying like legitimate cargo that was worth something, then they probably would have given us like Navy SEALs or something.
So everything went okay though. Did you get?
No, we saw something way off in the distance, but it could have been fishermen or something like that. Nothing crazy. I saw a couple dead guys in the port. That was weird. Yeah, dude, this is crazy. So those grain ports in Africa. Oh, wait, no. Let me take a step back. We were retrofitting a shipping container, and they needed a heating and cooling system in it. So I was installing a mini split on there. I installed a single zone mini split. I set up the heating on it, and I'm out there. I'm like shaking back and forth while I'm putting it on, and it was pretty wild. Plus, it was weird because the Sahara Desert knocks a lot of sand, like way, way, way off the shore. So like it was in a sandstorm when I was putting it in. I was like, I could probably do this back home and make better money doing it. So that's like kind of when the seed kind of got planted in my head.
That you were gonna, you're like, I'm gonna go home and start an HVAC business.
Yeah, I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous. I got this little blind Greek man protecting us here, telling me all about different olive oils, and like here I am, put in a mini split system. So it was that was a weird trip. We ended up pulling into Africa. And it was like our first time getting off in I think it was like 60 days since the last time we were able to get off.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, so we pull into Iberia and it smelled like shit. Like picture like the worst fart you ever had. Put yourself underneath the covers.
Iberia in Portugal?
No. This is in Iberia. This is in Africa.
Oh, yeah. Liberia. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so we get to shore there, and it was just like, you get shore pilots there, and the first thing they do is take you to whorehouses every single time. Even if that's not even what you want, we're like, 7-Eleven. There's a lot of 7-Elevens around. I'm like, yeah, sure.
In Africa, they have 7-Elevens in Africa?
Dude, everywhere. 7-Eleven is everywhere. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. Wow. Especially like in Asia, all throughout Asia, there's a 7-Eleven on every corner.
So you get out, they take you to a whorehouse.
Oh, one of the whorehouses. Yeah. So it's like you get off, basically the shore pilots, you get off the ship, you feel like a Nickelodeon kid. Everyone is just trying to fuck you anywhere you go. It's like brutal. These people, they're like, you got whores coming out of everywhere, grabbing your arm, trying to pull you in because they know that you got it. So it was it was always a lot there. But first thing we did, me and one other guys, we tried to find some weed, which we were successful. I thought it was legal there, or I didn't think they had laws or something. I don't know. I was pretty naive altogether. So my buddy, he ends up finding it. It was the worst stuff ever, but like, you know, it was better than nothing. So he comes up. Yeah. I know, right? So he comes up. Whores ended up saving my life because I guess there's a decent cops presence or whatever their version of cops are. And
so prostitution, like human trafficking, fine. Yeah, but you bought weed, and they're gonna start. Dude, they probably just want their palms greased, bro. That's what they really want.
That's it exactly. And like,
so did you get arrested?
I didn't get arrested. No, the whore saved me. So the girl, or you know, she was really nice. Her name was Queen, and she was like, I started smoking something, and she was just like, problem. What are you talking about? Problem? Like, what? We're in Africa. Come on. And she knocked it out of my hand, and some cops went by. So it was a good thing. She kind of saved my ass there.
Wow.
Like, oh, that's very nice.
Dude.
I appreciate that.
It really, dude, when I hear stories like that, bro, I think about like how we live in this country, and we whine and we bitch and we moan about so much stuff. And like, if you see how other people live in other parts of the world, it's like, bro, like,
dude, it's awful. It's so sad because there's so much potential over there too. You can just see it. People are athletic. They're not dumb by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just their surroundings are so mismanaged.
Yeah, they're like in a shithole. Dude, you know what's so funny, bro? Like, but at least, okay, so now you're like, okay, I'm going back home. I'm gonna start an HVAC company, which is like ridiculous in and of itself. But but so you're gonna start an HVAC company. But like, dude, the fact that you got to live and see that, like, see, I love this, like, because it helps me. Like, I love understanding people. So it's like, think about the perspective that you have in every single house that you walk in, and every employee that you hire, and everything that you do. You like have these experiences. That's why I think like people that have worked, like really served in interesting areas and interesting fields, I think have such an incredible perspective. I was talking today about how I thought like people should, like, everybody should work in a restaurant. Everybody.
Oh, yeah, right.
Everybody should work in a restaurant, because you should learn how to serve people, and then what's going on in the back of the house, the front of the house, the side of the house, like everywhere.
Yep.
So all right. So you come stateside, you come back home, you start this business. And what did you jump right into home performance?
No. So basically what happened is I got off so I got on my last hitch there in March 6th of 2020. So it was like right before the COVID madness happened.
Yeah.
So I'm on the ship. I see everything going on. Everything is starting to, like, I can see the writing on the wall. Like, so one of that same captain I was telling you about, he was giving us health screening, not screenings, but like health updates every single day. Keep in mind, this guy's 5'6", about 380, vegan, and not actually. He said he was
not actually vegan, or not actually 380.
No, he was 380, but not actually vegan. And
5'6", 380 pounds.
Oh, at least. And he
smelled shit. All right.
Too. Brutal. So anyway,
so you're growing through.
Yep. So COVID stuff's happening, which, let me tell you about the biggest heist in COVID that there was. So this guy, this is the best. He talked the company into buying the ship like 3 cases of Everclear so that we could make hand sanitizer. Dude, we used like a half of one of those jugs for hand sanitizer, and I'm pretty sure they're like still on the ship, because you only need like this much to make it. This motherfucker, he drank the rest of it. He was just sloshed.
What the hell do you mix it with?
Oh, nothing. Why waste it? Yeah.
What were you drinking it too?
A little bit here and there. No, so I'm not a big drinker. I like the liquor that we distilled on the ship, though. That was the coolest
distilled
part.
Liquor on the ships?
Oh, dude, we distilled liquor on the ship. Oh yeah. So one of the chief engineers, he was really good at it. And he had a whole method, and he taught me how to do it. And basically, we would buy just a regular water distiller on Amazon or something. We'd make a little mash, and then we'd buy some wood chips too to mix it with after we distilled it all. And the ship would make it perfect because the ship was constantly moving. So it basically perfectly mixed the liquor, and it was the most delicious liquor. It gave me zero heartburn, no hangover. It was freaking awesome, man. That was the best stuff. But there wasn't much of that because there was so much Everclear flowing around that, why bother?
So you got the good stuff in the liquor, the distilled liquor on the ship.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I got the good distilled stuff on the ship. But anyways, there was just so much hypocrisy happening around it. So I ended up getting off in the summer of, what was it, June, like end of June, I ended up getting off the ship. So it was just over a 90-day hitch, and the world was just falling apart. I wasn't sure if I was going to go back. Ironically enough, now my brother, who's my account manager in my business, he was actually sailing third engineer on that ship because I had bumped up, so I was able to slide him in to the job because he just graduated.
It's a family affair.
Me and my brother, we make jokes about that all the time. Like, we think what each other are thinking because we've spent so much freaking time together. But so yeah, we get off the ship. I fly home. I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to do here? Because I know they're rolling out this vaccine, and I'm not about to take some freaking pharma psyop for all I know. So I'm like, not going to take it. Not going to take it. Especially, I'm not going to let some fat ass tell me I have to take it. So, and yeah, I know, like, it drove me crazy. So I'm like, you know what? I'm starting a business. Mechanical business. I'm not going back with all the lunacy that was happening. Start the mechanical business. I'm working on anything, treadmills, any kind of workout equipment. I was doing dust extraction systems. I was doing a little bit of everything. I was doing mostly boiler maintenances at the time because that basically is my background, being on the ships, working on the boilers. So I was doing a lot of boiler maintenance, just doing anything I could to get in people's doors and just make as many relationships as I could.
What did you do? Were you like literally like home advisor, Angie's List, whatever, referral, so, like you were like toughing it out? Like,
I tackled Facebook moms and dads hard. I've always had I get a lot of engagement on Facebook. At least I used to. I stopped using Facebook for a while until Zuck came around about a year ago. But I have a ton of friends out there or on Facebook. So I was always getting a lot of engagement on Facebook. So, I was advertising my services there. It's just people around town. I started to build a pretty good reputation for us because, realistically, my goal is just to leave every piece of equipment better than when I got there. So even if it started to cost me money, I was just, learning and doing anything I could to give them the best possible service that I could. Oftentimes I would take a service call. I would schedule them for the afternoon. So all morning I could watch YouTube videos and do all kinds of research through the manuals and stuff. So I could know right what I was getting into when I would go there. Especially if it was like something I wasn't familiar working on, like gas boilers or something like that. Got a lot of sensors everywhere. So I was basically just getting in homes, doing as much service as possible because I had heard on some business coaching on YouTube, just, fishing around, that if you get in for service, you're probably going to get the install at some point, which makes sense.
That's how it works.
Exactly. So I told myself the spring of 2021, I said, I'm not allowed to smoke any weed until I sell a freaking HVAC system. Because I was struggling trying to sell these systems. Not even a week and a half later, I sold my first Mitsubishi system, 2-zone. And it was that joint tasted delicious at the end because it was. I got my ass kicked on the job. I was not very efficient with how I worked there. I think now we finish a 2-zone system in like a day, probably.
Right. It took you like 4 days to install it. You were like,
4 days. Yeah, it took me 4 days to do it.
Jesus.
Maybe a mental breakdown here or there.
So when did you get, all right, so you're from Boston, you got this business, you're doing Boilermate. For those people that don't know, dude, Boston, Jersey, up into Connecticut, all that kind of stuff. It's not just straight HVAC systems. Half the systems up there are hydronic. You got to know how to work on boilers and whatnot. Yep. Obviously, you figured out one thing that's tough is going from hey, this is a trade to man, I'm operating a business. Yes. I know it's a trade and I like to fix shit, but man, this is a business and I got to figure this thing out. You figured it out, but
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think I figured it out. I try to figure it out a little bit more every single day. And each time I figure it out a little bit more, it costs me a little bit more money. But, tuition, that's what I call it, any of those mistakes. And I've had a bunch of them.
Tuition. I paid tuition. That's good. That's a really good way to think about it, right? Every mistake you make, you're just paying tuition into. Dude, I've started a bunch of different endeavors in business. I've lost money too. So I get it, man. And then so when did you get into home performance? And just so those that maybe aren't in the industry, home performance is really like a program that states run. There's federal money involved where you do energy improvements in the house. Sometimes it's paired with an energy audit where you have to do other type of work in the house where there might be insulation work. There might be a water heater. It could be, and there's a report that gets spit out and you have to kind of follow the guidelines of this report. I'm simplifying it, but yeah.
Yeah, that's basically it. So Massachusetts has a bunch of incentives through the program called Mass Save here. And they always have been just pushing high efficiency equipment. You can get a 0% heat loan, and there's certain rebates that were allowed for different kinds of equipment. Now everything has geared towards heat pumps with, I think it was the Inflation Reduction Act or something like that.
Yeah, the IRA. You guys figured out that program, yeah.
Yeah, butt ton of money came into the state, and they're giving $10,000 rebates on heat pump installations now. So in the very beginning, it was like stealing money, basically. I mean, I did a heat pump install in my own house and got a $10,000 rebate on it. So I basically got paid to install a heat pump system in my own house. Granted, I have a business and I paid in other ways, like we were just talking about, but it was not you didn't have to have an energy audit like what you were talking about. They've really tightened up on the program since then. So my first year of doing heat pumps was basically people's whose ACs shit the bed. Because I mean, for people that are listening that aren't from this area, you could have a $2 million home here that doesn't have a lick of ductwork in it. So to have a home that has a central AC system is, kind of a premium thing, I guess you could say.
It's a big project. It's a big project.
Yeah. To retrofit these things in. So oftentimes what would end up happening is people would have an AC system already installed in their home. And, say it was a 1,400 square foot ranch or something like that. They'd have a 2-ton system up there. We'd say, hey, if we put a 3-ton system and add a couple of legs of ductwork, we can replace the system with a heat pump. Now this is your new primary source of heat, and we can get you a $10,000 rebate on it and the 0% financing.
Yeah, so this is like a really hot top. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah. No. So that was the first year. It was a lot of that. People doing heat pump installs in name only, basically. Sure.
Let's just explain this. So a heat pump is an air conditioner that works in reverse. They were typically reserved for warmer weather climates, the southern part of the United States, areas that don't really get below freezing very often. Obviously, Boston, Massachusetts gets below freezing 4.5 months of the year. Yeah, you're running your heat maybe more. Actually, I think it's closer to 5.5 months a year. You're running your heat at least once, in the daytime.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And so when I first heard about the heat pump installs, that's all I saw everywhere was heat pumps. They can't keep up, blah, blah, blah. Basically, these rebates created an arms race for every manufacturer to create the best low ambient heat pump, meaning a heat pump that can operate, down into the negatives. And
yeah, dude. I remember this when Carrier did their green speed system, and I sat through the technical class and got certified and whatever else. This was years ago. And I remember this, and I had people argue with me all the time saying, no way, they're not going to keep up, blah, 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 because they had developed a central air conditioner that could actually operate all the way down. They were it was 15 degrees or something like that. It could operate and put out 70-degree heat.
Oh, yeah.
However, this has been a really, really hot topic because they're giving incentives on electrifying everything, right?
Right.
Getting everybody on the grid, getting everybody away from fossil fuels in whatever way. Now, if they have oil, dude, I mean, that's super inefficient. Totally understand it. But you got natural gas and you're incentivizing people to go heat pumps. Now, have you had people that you've heard that have put them in and they're just not happy afterwards? They put them in, they're man, it doesn't get me the heat that I want.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not going to blame the heat pump for people not having the right heat in their homes because the heat pumps weren't applied properly. If you want, you can install a heat pump that'll perfectly heat a home all the way down into the negatives, but you're going to pay out your ass to do it.
Yeah, but you got to in many cases, you got to re-insulate, right?
Yep.
At least you got to insulate the ductwork, you got to insulate the house. Like, and I'm not saying in every application, right? But dude, okay, what's the average age of a home in a suburb in Massachusetts?
Right. Probably 30 years old, 30 years old or something like 30.
Minimum. 40. And then as you go closer to the city, right?
Yep.
Like, bro, you're talking, dude, all that whole Northeast, like you're talking turn of the century.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
You're talking houses all over the place that are turn of the century, and you're going on fossil fuel. You're going on heat pumps, and I'm not opposed to heat pumps at all. I'm not at all. I'm not. I think it's a great idea, but the fact is that you got to think through this. Like, okay, there's other things I have to do to make sure that heat pump operates properly.
Yep, exactly. So, like, I'm a big fan of dual fuel systems, especially so. If they have propane,
now, will they incentivize dual fuel? Do they incentivize the dual fuel?
They do, but it's way freaking harder now. So, like, for instance, say I'm installing a dual fuel system, those naturally are going to be a lot more expensive, which I feel like those should be the ones that they incentivize the most, because that's the one where they would get most people using their heat pumps, because they can set the changeover temperatures around, say 30 degrees, 25 degrees, depends on what fuel you're displacing in the first place. And then you can make it switch over when it starts to be, more effective to run the fossil fuel. But that would be the way that they'd actually get people to go, oh, wow, this heat pump actually works pretty well. I want to use it. Because, it drops below freezing a lot here, but a lot of times it's floating around 35 degrees or so.
Yeah, and most of the daytime weather, no problem, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're just figuring overnight,
right?
When it gets down to 12.
Right. Exactly. They went for the whole thing, though. They're like, now it's like no fossil fuel whatsoever. So even if I do sell a dual fuel system, they're still going to give a rebate based on $1,250 per ton or $1,250 per ton, up to 10 tons is what they'll do. So it could end up being, or up to $10,000. I mean, is the max that they'll max it.
Right. Oh, is if you have 2 5-ton systems in a house, does that count as 10 tons?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. It would that's like would be your max out. You max out at $10,000. So whatever, I think it's like 6 tons or something like that is where you end up getting the $10,000 rebate on it, which it doesn't make that much of a difference though, because dual fuel systems are so expensive to install. Like just to buy the equipment, it's so expensive.
Yeah, it's definitely a hot topic. And the thing that blows my mind is that, like, it's not like we have these amazingly efficient ways of, in some cases, the power plants are using natural gas to actually burn, or they're using coal. They're burning coal. Now they're burning garbage.
They're burning garbage up here, up at Wheelabrator. Yeah, all my friends work there. Yeah, they'll literally burn garbage to generate the electricity. So the idea is the heat pumps technically use less energy than, like, because there's 27 kilowatt hours of energy in 1 gallon of propane. I think there's 41 in 1 gallon of oil. So, like, you can calculate out that the heat pumps technically use less energy, but
for sure they use less energy.
Where they're pulling the energy from isn't necessarily available right now. So, like, I feel like the right way to do it, I mean, I hope I'm not shooting myself in the foot. I work in the Mass Save program a lot, but I feel like the right way to do it, to get more people to actually shift towards
dual fuel. That dual fuel is the way to do it. You give people the ability, you set up their system the right way, but they don't want to do that. They want everybody to go electric. Again, and I'm not opposed to this. I think in many climates, in many climates, it absolutely makes sense. And I've converted people to heat pumps in Jersey. I've done it before. Again, you've got to keep. There's more to anyway.
Exactly. So that's not even like the worst case. The thing that bugs me about what's going on right now is, say you got a little old lady that's got, a shitty old 80% gas furnace down in her basement in her camper or something, or, double wide, something like that. And the thing shits the bed. She now can't finance that whole thing at 0%. She has to upgrade to a heat pump, which is naturally going to be more expensive. So, okay. All right. Yeah. She gets maybe a $10,000 rebate on that. All right, so she gets a $10,000 rebate, but now we have to update all of her ductwork now too. So now this is basically turning into a brand new install altogether.
Yeah, it's a $30,000 job that she did.
It turns into a $30,000 job. So what could have been a simple, probably $6,000 to $9,000 furnace replacement for this lady that she could have financed at 0%. Now she's got to finance a $20,000 job because you're getting a $10,000 rebate, but I mean now it's a $20,000 job.
Okay. I mean, if she's getting insulation and air sealing and all that kind of stuff, like there's a value there. I get it, but yeah, it's a bigger. And maybe that's just it. You just sell her a furnace. I mean, it's not against the law to sell furnaces. So you just got to sell her a furnace and that's it.
Right. But she has no way to, now she has to finance it through my financing option, which is like 15% or something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, you'll figure that out. I mean, unless you could pay it off faster. So let me ask you this. Now that you've been working with a bunch of mass holes for a while, right? Your words, not mine. You've been working with a man. I always liked people from Boston. I always like going up there. It's one of my favorite cities in the country. I always loved going to Boston, man. I loved hanging out there. In fact, I proposed to my wife in Cape Cod. Like, so.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I do a lot of work on Cape Cod.
Yeah, I was in Dennis and I had a buddy who was up there and he had a house and his family had a house up in Cape Cod. And he was like, here, man, just go, grab the house for the weekend. And I was like, and we went up there. It's beautiful. I mean, Cape Cod, dude, Provincetown, that whole area is like the whole island. It's just beautiful up there. I don't think anybody has not been up there. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous place. But now that you've been working also in the hood, let's, what kind of, so you're going to, so now, obviously the name of the podcast. So I was in this house. So here, I'll start. So I was in this house and I met this woman who.
All right. So I was in this house and I had just sold this furnace to like the worst landlord ever. This guy was drunk all the time, talking to him on the phone, he was slurring his words. I didn't know how this guy owned a house. So he had tenants in there. I was able to finally get him to fumble through digitally signing the contract. So he signed it. I'm like, okay, great. Go to this lady's house, send the guys there. I'm just about to get them started up, knock on the door. Lady answers the door. She is whacked out on crack or something. Tits out, completely out, just flowing in the wind. I'm trying to keep a straight professional face because I have a co-op student and one of my lead technicians there. And I'm like, yeah, ma'am. So we're here to change the furnace. We checked it out last week, and she is all over the place. She was like screaming and dancing around the house with her tits out the entire freaking time while they
no shirt.
Well, no, she was wearing a bathrobe, but just kind of partying. And it's not even like they were nice tits either. I mean, tits are tits, but they weren't even like super nice tits at the end of the day. And she was on something. Her landlord was a drunk. That was a freaking mess. I'll tell you one thing about housing authorities. So we've been doing a lot with the housing authorities, nothing can prepare you for the amount of dildos that you're going to see in the housing authority. Like, oh man, dildo city. Like, they should call them dildo cities because the housing authorities are full of freaking dildos. And like, you want to respect people's privacy and stuff. But when I'm doing
what, you walk in and they're just like, oh, hey, welcome to my house. And they're just out on the.
Well, I mean, they don't like shake my hand with it, but like they, like, it'll be like, they'll leave it out on the counter or like, on the dresser where you're installing the unit.
Are we talking about multiple occasions of this happening? Not one?
Multiple. Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, nothing can prepare you for understanding the amount of dildos you're going to see once you start working in housing authority.
Dude, that's crazy because I think everybody that's come on here has had a story similar to that. So what else? I mean, what other kind of things have you seen in these?
I think one of the funniest ironic ones that I've seen was he was the messy fancy guy. So this was actually when I was working in apartment complexes, and it was this really nice one in Cleveland, Ohio. And I mean, each one of these units went for at least $5,000 a month. Like, it was nice. And there was this guy that would always come down. He was a pretty nice guy, but he was souped up to the to the 10s or 9s. I don't know what the saying is. And, prim proffer, everything, he had designer shoes, designer belt, the whole nine. He's like a middle-aged white guy. But man, he was really turning it on when he was leaving the place. We had to do a service call in his room one time, and it was a freaking dump, dude. Like, it was his AC wasn't working up there, so I went in there to go and try and fix it. Dude, he had shits floating in his toilet because the unit, right? Can you imagine just like letting a shit just ferment there? So guy had shits fermenting. He's still done up to the 9s, and I'm like, do you live with a monkey or something? Like, how is it this messy in here? There was moldy bread on the ground. And like, this guy's just talking to me with a straight face.
Was it a hoarder house, or was it just like he was just a messy guy?
Dude, he's just a messy guy. It was a $5,000 a month apartment right on Lake Erie, or I think it was Lake Erie. Yeah, right on Lake Erie in Cleveland. Beautiful, beautiful spot. And this place was a dump. I do not like this guy. If he ever brought anyone back there, they would probably be just as surprised as me. Because I'm like, I've had nice passings with this guy here and there. Meanwhile, he's got shits just fermenting, just soaking away in there like a tea bag. And I'm in there trying to fix this AC system, and I'm just breathing it in. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, is it rude to flush somebody else's toilet if
No,
there's
dude,
shit
you
in
just
there?
flush it. Are you kidding me? You just do it.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. Well, it was weird because he was in there with me. Like, I almost thought I was being pranked or something. I'm like,
oh man, that's really bad.
At one point, he was like, he goes, "Oh, sorry, it was a little bit messy in here." I'm like, dude, you got shits fermenting. Like, that's more than a little bit messy, dude. That was a pretty brutal one. Let's see, what else do I have? Those are the main ones that I think of. I mean,
I think we were talking. I think before the show we were talking about some ladies of the night.
Ladies of the night. Oh, geez, I'm trying to think.
Hookers. You were saying something
no.
about going into some houses with hookers.
Oh, I did a quote in a house that shot OnlyFans. I did that. No, most of the hooker work that I've ever done has been overseas. That was always yeah.
So, wait, you went into a house where they were shooting in OnlyFans?
Yep. I went in there to quote a system. They were shooting OnlyFans in there, and I'm like, oh man, like I know there was a lot of mattresses around. Like,
oh God,
what's going on in here?
We live in such a weird world where we can you can subscribe to a just one individual and be like, I just want to see this. Yeah.
Oh man, you pick a butthole you like and you pay $5 a month for it. Basically what it is.
Dude, okay, so for anybody that listens to this, there's an episode with Brent Buckley where he tells a story about how there was a massive mansion in Las Vegas where they were filming this. They were straight filming like high quality pornos and dude, the crate, they were whatever they dudes are rolling up in whoever the filmmaker, the Lamborghinis, whatever it is, right? And he tells a story about how he had to. I'll let you guys listen to it, but he had to replace the HVAC system, and they were renting. They were renting there. They were renting.
Nice.
They were renting, but they were like, wait. And he's like, you don't even own the home. What are you going to, he's like, bro, I need you to replace this system right here. Dude rolls up cash and goes, don't tell the landlord, don't do anything. And they didn't want him to know. So they bought the guy an HVAC system in a house that was being rented.
Oh my gosh, man. I bet you if more landlords knew that they would buy systems for them, they'd let it happen all the time.
I think this was a one-off situation. You're talking about $2, $3, $4 million house, bro.
Oh yeah. That's basically like what I went into. It was over $1 million house. It was real big. Yeah, they were shooting OnlyFans 100% there. And he even said it too. He's like, yeah, we shoot OnlyFans here. So
what's what's the toughest thing right now you're going on in your world, in your business right now? I'd be curious because I know, we talked about how you made your transition from being a maritime guy, working on ships, traveling the world. And then you decided to make this transition into owning an HVAC company. Like what's going on in your world?
So I would say the hardest thing is figuring out sales. So a big reason why I did start my own company is because I did want to get into sales in one way or another. Because there's a reason why it's the highest paying profession out there. You get rewarded for what you can move, basically. So going from being an installer to a salesman, I mean, I'm somewhat personable, so it wasn't super, super hard, but still, I mean, just in processes alone, getting lead generation, being able to keep track of all your leads. Because if you get a bunch of them that come in at once, before you know it, you're that guy that's not getting an estimate out. To get an estimate out. You don't want to be that guy that's taking all that time, because then you're going to lose that sale to the private equity company that's got a guy in there that was recently selling freaking Pelotons or fishing poles or whatever it was, but he's good at sales.
They train him up.
They train him good, and I tip my hat to him, man, because I feel like there's two worlds. There's the world of installers that you train to be sales guys that go out there and they're going to quote the most accurate system. They're going to have the right sale not the right sales process. They're going to know exactly what fittings you're going to need. They're going to have the install will go a lot smoother. The problem is that you're probably going to close less jobs with that guy because sales kind of comes second and he's an installer first. So like every company's kind of weighing their options of like, okay, do I get a sleaze bag salesman? Not really, but like, someone where you might have a couple fires that you have to put out here and there because they may have sold something that can't be done right, or, they just don't have a full understanding of it, versus having an installer who can sell, but you're probably going to get outgunned a couple times. And I've noticed that these last couple years, mostly because it's gotten a lot tighter with inflation and everything like that. So it's been kind of good because sales got harder. I mean, we've still grown every single year. So just for reference, I have 10 guys in the company. We just touched $2 million this year. So like we're cruising and everything's going okay. But man, we get outgunned on sales sometimes, and myself included. Like it's pretty crazy. So I would say the hardest thing for me to figure out right now is best way for lead generation, which I already know that's referrals. I'm in a few different referral networks, and those are the best quality leads you can possibly get.
Sure.
Yeah. And then the actual sales and the sales process as it is, because if your lead generation works, now your sales process has to be just as sharp as your lead generation.
I don't typically do any sort of, I do sales training for like, I've been doing it for years. I don't really do like much. I don't do much like business building on these podcasts, but I'll give you like a word of advice. I'm one of the guys that came on a couple of weeks ago. His name is Mike McCoy, and he was talking to me, and I managed him and a bunch of other people from that company. And one of the things that I told these guys, and we got to stop thinking about sales as sales, right? So,
right.
And one of the things I told him, he brought up the fact that he was like, you kind of knew how to manage everybody individually. And it got me thinking about this mantra. We had this thing on the walls. We had it in our messages, everything. And it was this thing about, I told the guys, I said, when I was in the field, all I wanted to do was I wanted to be their guy. When they thought HVAC, when they thought I want to trust somebody with this job, when they thought I need somebody that I can take care of this, knows what they're doing, will handle this from beginning to end, I wanted to be their guy. And I just we had a whole year where that's all we said was, dude, just be their guy. Like, and get them to the fence, get them to want to do business with you. And if you don't get the business, call me, let me know what happened or whatever it is. But the reality is getting to them to that point and being their guy, and stop thinking about getting the sale and just start thinking about being that person's guy. Like, hey, is this a project that you're going to undertake? Yes, you're going to do it. Okay. Like, just tell me, like, what do you like? Do you like everything I've laid out for you here? Just be straight with me. And I think, especially in Massachusetts, people will be straight with you for the most part. Right.
Yeah, you're going to
so just be their guy. And like, you can get to the root of the problems just being their guy, because if you're their guy, then they're going to be more likely to give you all the information that you need. They're going to be more likely to be like, well, Julian, you know what? It's a little bit more money than I wanted to, or I'm not really sure about this brand, or whatever the case may be, whatever the objection is. Anyway, that's my little nugget.
No. That's awesome. And I that's like a perfect way to verbalize it, because I haven't figured out how to quite verbalize it yet. But my sales started to really explode a couple of years ago when I reframed everything as, how can I be their problem solver? Like, every person that's calling me and has a problem that they want me to potentially fix, and they're basically trying me out to do that. So I changed it from, I really want to get this sale, to, I really want to solve this person's problem and have them be really happy. And that definitely helped me close a lot more sales and be able to grow the company while things were getting tighter and tighter. Because obviously, as the Mass Save program starts to expand, more people are getting in on it. And I was early on it, which was good. But it definitely got tighter, and I had to sharpen up. So yeah, that mantra right there is a great way to verbalize it for sure.
Last question before we get good going here. What is one sales call, service call experience that you've had in this field that, I ask this every podcast, that lives with you, that was so profound of a moment that you carry it wherever you go? And it could be, and I've had business owners on here who have talked about interactions with their employees as well, but something that kind of makes you and lives inside you and you think about it?
So I would say I would take that back to when I was shipping. There was, because I can think of a negative one from being in people's houses, but like a positive, profound thing that really affected.
No, it can be negative. It can absolutely be negative.
Okay.
Like it could be something where it was like a learning moment. I'll give you two. I'll give you two moments.
Okay, give me two. Okay, if I can have two, I'll be a happy guy. I'll be
You're
a
the
happy
first
sale.
one, by the way. I think you're. Well, no. Somebody else did too. I think Gil Cavey from HVAC Uncensored did. But
all right. Well, I'll give my two a shot. So the negative one, I'll start with first. So when I was first getting up and going, and I was just doing Facebook moms and dads things, this one people called me in to service their oil boiler, or their oil fired furnace rather. Nowadays, if I were to walk in there, I would have been licking my chops like this is a perfect sale. The thing was completely toast. Looking back at it, knowing what I know now. But then people said, "Yeah, we just need a maintenance done." So I go, "Okay, perfect." Go in there. I do my maintenance, clean up the electrodes, test the fuel pressure, whatever I was offering at the time. And they call me up 2 days later, say, "Hey, thing, crapped out on us. Can you come check it out? Like, what'd you do?" So I go there. I'm like, "Damn, what did I do?" So I went there. Long story short, I put probably 15 hours worth of work into that place trying to figure out what I did. I had to get to another call. So my dad actually has an oil burner license. So I sent him over there to try to fix this problem that I made for these people that were giving me their business. He overhears them through one of the vent talking about how this system has actually been doing that for the past year and a half. Oil systems, for anyone who's never worked on them, they will have you putting your head through a wall sometimes, not knowing what the hell is going on. There's so many there's so many little things that can go wrong that can just not quite be right. Unless you're completely proficient in it, you can get real tongue-tied with them. So basically, these people have been hitting the reset button on their boiler for a year, and they were squeezing me for free labor to try to, they set me up. They knew I was a younger guy. They knew I just started the business. They set me up. They were trying to get me to do it for next to nothing, because once I confronted them on that, I go, wait, I heard that this thing has been doing that for the past year. Ghosted me. I sent them invoices. They never paid it. It was so like that was a realization where like, wow, not everybody is your friend. You have to keep somewhat of your hackles up when you go in there, because some people are just looking to get one over on you. They don't care if it hurts you. They don't care if you're a new business. They're more.
So you're 20 hours into this thing. 20 hours about between you, your dad, everybody else. Wow.
Yep, exactly. And we find out that this thing has been messed up. I mean, realistically, now I would have given it maybe 2 hours, and I would have like, hey, this system's 30 years old. We should probably replace it. But I didn't have it. I wanted to solve these people's problem. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go in there. It's gonna be great. Fix my wrong. Now, the positive one was we were in Africa and we were getting one of our cranes fixed, and the guys that were working on the crane, the tools that they were using were so bad that it like almost brings a tear to my eye, to the point where like we've started putting some logistics together to be able to send tools over to Africa, just so technicians can use them, whether they're in HVAC or any world. Anyways, this guy, he had broken wrenches, he had screwdrivers that were welded to separate handles. Like, they did anything they could. And one of the guys on the ship had the fucking nerve to make fun of this guy's tools. Oh man, I lit that guy up, like verbally. Obviously, you can't go fighting people on ships, because that was just the most rude freaking thing I've ever heard. Like, this guy is out here fixing a problem that we can't, and you're making fun of his fucking tools while you're making $1,000 a day. Like, are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, that pissed me off so bad. So what that did, how that stayed with me, is when I'm in someone's home, okay, maybe I don't have the perfect press gun or the highest quality Milwaukee, whatever. We can still get things done, and we can do them right too. So it made me more appreciative of what I had and what I had access to, because this guy here, he's making a living fixing cranes, probably making next to nothing. And, we're floating around.
There's not like a Home Depot around the block that he can just go get new tools at. He's not making shit money, right? Wow.
Exactly. Yeah. That really stuck with me, to be like, man, I am thankful for what I got. I got that nice Field Piece vacuum pump. Like, that's beautiful. Thank God I can just go out.
It goes back to what we were saying before, guys. It's all it's relative. You're sitting here bitching and whining and moaning about your life. Just think about this guy who was like, literally, he didn't even have tools to do his job because there's no hardware stores, or he couldn't afford it or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I think it's been
Yeah,
really good.
absolutely.
And well, actually we're, usually I go about an hour, but this has been we're already an hour and 10 in.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
I'm stoked. I'm happy that you reached out to me, and I hope whoever listens to this, man, there's some cool freaking stories. This is one of the coolest I've done. Love your story, man. I wish your business so much luck. Hey, plug your business real quick. What's the name of your business? Where is
Yeah,
it?
absolutely. So we're located in Hopedale, Massachusetts. The company's called Centerline Mechanical. A little bit of a nautical twist there. Centerline is when the ship is perfectly even. So that's what I want to do to people's homes, is make them nice and even and balanced. We do all residential HVAC. You can find us on Google if you just search Centerline Mechanical in Massachusetts. We have an Instagram and Facebook at Centerline Mechanical, one word. And then you can visit my website, which is www.centerlinemech, so half of the word mechanical, mech.com. You can book consultations there, or, let us in your door. We'll see if we can solve some problems for you at a good price.
Centerline Mechanical, at Centerline Mechanical on all the platforms.
Yes, sir.
And you guys do the performance program. You do the heat pumps, you do boilers, you do furnaces, you do all HVAC work.
Yes,
Are you
sir.
guys doing plumbing work too?
We're not doing plumbing. I have an awesome plumber that I sub things out to.
Do you do water? I had to do water heaters.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we include them in the heat loans and everything like that when it's allowed. So we do plumbing work. We do electrical work too. We're basically a full home service company at this point.
And you can also do the rebate, where they can do a point of sale rebate, where they can get a higher efficiency system and they can qualify for additional. Yeah.
We handle everything in house, because we know correspondence with Mass Save can be tough. So I have somebody that specializes in just doing Mass Save stuff. And
you file the rebates, you handle all that stuff.
Yeah, we handle all the annoying stuff. We get you a beautiful high efficiency system at the best price possible.
Super cool, man. Julian, I've loved talking to you, man. Let's make sure we keep in contact. Awesome. Guys, seriously, awesome. Great episode. My next episode coming up, I got coming up on Texas Medley on Tuesday. If you guys know Medley Heating and Air in Dallas, he's like a poster child for, like, I don't know, service titan and stuff like that. Like, it's pretty cool guy. You guys can check it out. He's done a lot of forward thinking kind of things in our industry. So very cool. And we'll catch you next week.
See you later.